Well, thank you for being with us. Some of you are guests the first time that we're at the conference, and some that were not at the conference and just are first-time guests. So I'm going to ask what we typically do here. I've got all kinds of people's papers here, so. I'm so messed up. You know, they have to like go, Michael, we have an announcement for you to make, and they, please remember, because I don't. It's always okay until the times they try to staple them to my head. Then that's kind of a drag. So share what you would. What would you like us to talk about today?
Trusting oneself.
What is it?
Trusting
Trusting
oneself.
oneself.
Navigating Sedona energy.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, there's not enough time for that, but navigating the Sedona energy. Yeah. What was the other one over there? Jesus and Mary. You're not from around here, are you? What is it?
Remembrance.
Listening to the higher self.
Okay, good.
Navigating Sedona roundabouts.
What was it?
Finding your tribe.
Okay.
Bringing the daughters in heaven energy out into the world.
In the stillness.
Okay, hold on.
Integration.
Hold it. And what was there? Was one more over there?
Finding your tribe.
No. Okay, we're good. Somebody else said there was two over here.
In the
Stillness. Okay. Very good. Thank you. For the folks online, there's a variety of things that were brought up, and I'll try to weave them all together and so on. There's something about like the musicians playing, and there's times that they learn songs, study songs, create songs, memorize lyrics, etc. And that's a talent in itself. But there's also that they even received those lyrics and so on, right? Which you could do from your head or you can do it in your heart, right? Parents also do that at times. Musicians at times, parents at times, a person doing a talk like this. But some of us go more from our head, which is fine, but there's a reason, and others from the heart. I'm not saying that one is superior. I'm just saying that one takes a lot more trust. Because when you're relying on your old programs, that's your foundation. You want to wake up, when you sit up and you put your feet down, you're hoping there's still earth under you. It's like, whew, okay, I'm still okay. But the surrender, as like in the words of the song, this concept of surrender, it's not like it's just what you think, the word, oh, that's really nice, surrender. It takes intense courage to trust at that level. And I'm not saying you should do it all at once. Ironically, we can do it all at once. That's kind of like the mindset of some of the apostles, but especially Mary Magdalene. Whatever you might think or believe about Magdalene, it doesn't matter to me. What I'll share, anytime I share about her, is generally from her own gospel, what she wrote, and not somebody's strange, things they make up. One of you brought up the word stillness. That reminds me of something else I guess I'll go into about Magdalene. This is interesting because we have a relationship with God. And, words, integration and remembrance, it all sounds very cool when you're in a new agey state of mind. How you doing? Oh, I'm in total remembrance. What have you been doing lately? Just lots of stillness. It's easy to say those things. And then, a car runs over your foot and you're like, to the driver and you just flip out. But that's understandable because as much as I want to know God, this world, that pain in your knee, that relationship issue, and, there's this stuff of this world. And what I said partly, and I've said this many times over all these years, this world is any part you see, it's either showing you the Spirit of God or that of the ego. You're always seeing one of those or another. Which one you see is the one you chose for the day. That's where it really gets hard. I did not choose this. I woke up, I had my organic oatmeal that I blessed. Damn it. And I prayed, and within 2 minutes, everything started going wrong. Now, and now that proves there's no God. No, it doesn't. Because what you're experiencing this morning might be things from 5 years ago. Tests and lessons and issues. Now, the ego looks at these things and says, man, I know just how to mess you up. Now, ironically, because I'm going to put you through these tests. And the ego's in me, so I'm the one who's allowing it to do it. Let's remember that. This isn't the devil made me do it. We're victims. On some level, I believe that I need these tests. Well, the ego says, I have no problem doling out challenges. That's my job. I love it. Now, why does God allow these things? Here's why. Because God's saying every time evil and the ego tries to put you through things, I'm hoping this time you'll wake up and get out of it. The ego's going, I'm counting on you not doing that. Because all I have to do is say boo, and you go into weird places. You go into all kinds of, who said boo, why? Oh, this reminds me of an old boo. I had a past life. There was a past life boo once. Really? You had a past life boo? Yeah. You know what? I married a boo. And so, there's all this stuff. And it doesn't have to do a whole lot, just boo. And now add anything else to the boo, and you see what I'm saying. And so deep down, we actually believe. Now, I know some of us are going, not me, I'm just holy. But we have inside of us, and even if you don't think you have this, you're part of us, so we have this, which includes you. Okay? So we have this deep, 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 deep unconscious belief that we have harmed God. We fear God. We're angry at God. There's all this God stuff. And if you say, well, never me, anytime you've lost a loved one, you had doubts about God. Anytime something went horribly wrong in your life. When you were a child and got abused, you're like, wait, what? It's not like you can say, well, I remember. When I was 1, my parents were sleeping. I did all kinds of wicked things in the house. I crawled out of my pen, my little playpen or whatever they put kids into sleep in. I took a torch. I burned through the netting. And I took money from my mom's purse, and I went and did a pipe, and I'm not saying it's all conscious like that. I'm saying what God speaks to Job when Job says, I've been a good person all my life. How could I have bad karma? And then he tries to figure it out. And then finally he goes, all right, I give up. I can't figure out how bad things happen to me when I don't remember doing anything to deserve it. God responds and says, well, guess what, Job? You only remember you as long as you've been Job. I remember before you were Job. You know what that means? You've got lifetimes of stuff, dude. And it takes courage, once again, to look at that stuff. And you don't have to always remember those things. Just be willing to know it's me. Something for me to learn here. It takes responsibility and courage beyond our imagination at this point, but you can do it. We just do it in bits as it comes along. But we have not sinned against God. You could go to most churches and say, can you, reporter on the street. Hi, welcome, to such and such chapel or this church, that church. Can you name a sin against God? And almost all of them will tell you something about a sin against God. We have sinned against God. Some are going to say, you sinned against God as soon as you were born. How? All I did was show up. How did I already sin? Oh, because there's a curse passed down to you from Adam and Eve. I can't wait till I find them. They've screwed things up for everybody, apparently. It wasn't me, it was them. And there's an Adam and Eve, but there's also the race of man and woman. There's also a symbol of mankind. Well, what's the original sin? It's what's original sin? The original thought that we're separate from God. So when you're born, how dare them say that babies are born into original sin? But they're actually right. They just don't know what they're saying. They think it actually is like a curse. It isn't. It's the unfortunate circumstance. You ought to go to some church sometime. When they say it's a curse, no, actually it's just an unfortunate circumstance. What happened was we all took on the belief that we're separate. We did. As soon as we left, we separated, seemingly. That's the original sin. But we think that we've sinned against God. Let's just make this clear, though. It's going to sound sacrilegious. You can hate God. It's actually okay. And you can fear God. It's okay. God doesn't have a personality to be bruised by that. I hate you, God. It's like punching the air. Oh, God. And God's like, wow. You are nothing like I created you to be. Sin, you can't sin against God and you can't harm God. But let's pretend for a moment let's pretend God is a being like we are for a moment. A grand being, but a being. If there's such a thing as feelings that could be hurt, not anger, not hate from God, but just hurt, it would be when you hurt yourself or other people. And since there are no real others, even when you harm other people, it's actually coming back to you. So you're always really hurting yourself. So God looks at you and says, "You are my beloved children in whom I am well pleased." And, we say, no, we're not your beloved children who are totally bruised. We're hurt and we're angry but it's okay for you to sometimes look to the heavens and be angry at God. Technically, there are stories in the Bible where patriarchs and matriarchs got away with that. And some people go, why did God allow them to scream at the sky? Because God is okay with that. No, I've heard that's bad. Well, that's if your conscience says, I said something mean and now God's going to curse me. Something's going to happen, but it isn't God, it's you bringing some ill fate back to yourself for doing that. So again, we're okay. You can't sin against God really, but you can hurt God's feelings, I'm just saying metaphorically, when you harm yourself because God sees you doing something hurtful to yourself. Think of it like a parent. A parent might see you making a poor choice. Generally, they don't hate you for it, but it can make a parent sad, right? And just take that, and we're talking about if it's a decent parent. It is okay. It is normal for even a decent parent to just feel a little sad to see you doing it, going that route. Honey, there's so many other routes, so many other ways that, you could do this. And watching us choose the hard way. So there's an interesting part to this because why does the Bible tell us, and other mystics since, but why does the Bible tell us sins against the Father are forgivable, but not sins against the Mother? Sins against the Holy Spirit. That doesn't make any sense to the average thinker. Sins against God are forgivable. You know why? Because God doesn't see them. God, please forgive me for whatever. Okay. And God's like, I didn't even notice, Well, there was that one day when okay. And we talked about this in the workshop yesterday, conference yesterday, so I don't want to repeat too much of it. But just the point is, God is, the Father aspect of God is holding space in heaven, is not involved with what we think. I'm angry at God. God's immune to that stuff. Then why are we told, but sins against the Holy Spirit are called to mind? Why are those like seemingly unforgivable? Because when the mother is here to mirror us, and when you do something hurtful, she'll mirror it to you. You can, in other words, when you're hurting yourself or others, she will be the mirror of that behavior or the karma of it. Why does it mean she doesn't forgive? It doesn't mean she's like, that's it. It's unforgivable. She's saying it can't be forgiven until you release it. You see? Once again, we're being told this harshness of God. It's so funny. The Father, I hear, is fairly forgiving. Don't anger the mother. She's like, it's right there. It's right. And don't, whatever you do, the Holy Spirit is unforgivable. Oh my God. That means when I go to heaven, I got to remember, if I happen to make it there, and the odds are very slim, There's only 144,000 people throughout history that are good enough. I know that isn't me. I know that. I mean, first of all, I was born with original sin and I never got over it. So I know I'm not going to make it. But if I did, I would ask for real estate in the Father's kingdom, not the mother's. Because I know she's going to go, oh, how did you get in here? I never chose to forgive you. You know, I will not. See, it doesn't work but that's that weird programming. And we'll go there a little bit. There's 7 primary sins, let's call it, against ourselves. I'll just name some, I think. I don't know, maybe I'll do all 7, I don't know. But seven primary sins against ourselves. And just feel for a moment to see if any of these resonate with you. Because the ones that resonate are the ones you might want to look at, to release, to work on. One thing that is a sin against God, but not really, it's a sin against yourself, hiding things. As they say in recovery programs, we are as sick as our secrets. So just try this. Yogananda said, stand before God and open your soul and say, here I am. His exact words were, here I am, sinner or saint. You know, can you pull that off? Do you have the courage? Well, instead it's like, listen, flash the Lord. Here I am. And, it's okay. God's like, I don't even notice. So it's about deception of others, what we're calling like hiding things, deception, but we're really talking about hiding from ourselves. A Course in Miracles is very clear about this. Leave no stone left unturned. Why would you want, why would you need, why would you believe you need to hide anything? Because there are some things I just don't, oh, I'm sorry, beloved, is what God would be saying, the mother. Why would you think such a thing? You know, it's okay. Can I tell you everything? I mean, I've done some naughty things. Honey, no secrets. Now, on a practical 3D level, I don't think it's safe, smart, to go and just open up to anyone and everyone and expect them all to handle it well. You know, some people are going to be to neighbors and you're going to be like, oh my God, now I can never tell a secret again. You know, choose wisely. It's okay. I mean, people are going to slip, but choose wisely. It's called safe others is the term used. Find a counselor, find a sponsor, a friend. But the professionals, the counselor, the sponsor, the chaplain, it is their job to keep that confidentiality, and it's pretty sweet. And once in a while, of course, humans slip, but generally that's a good route. Friends aren't actually as trustworthy as those professionals because they're playing a different role. Your friends might turn on you sometimes if it's convenient to their needs. But that's okay too. You know, just choose wisely, because some of them would be almost like chaplains to you. Some of them will be good at holding space, but no secrets. If you can, just practice, work on that one. There's the obvious when you're overtly harming, to murder a being, to harm or murder. If I harm you and murder you emotionally or financially, to do like some kinds of business deals where you look forward to just destroying someone else financially, you see? I don't know, you know, it's a funny thing how human beings can think that way. They're you. They're the Holy Spirit, sins against the Holy Spirit. You get called up, you got to clear it. But, you know, just to own that. I'm not saying you have to like be careful walking down the street and might step on an ant. I'm just talking about beings. Yes, creatures like that, you know, animals, yes, but also human beings, including yourself. No murder, man, you know, and we have variations of what that means. I'm talking about overtly, hurtfully, hatefully harming or killing. But that's not, God's not like, I can never forgive you for that. God knows you are my beloved children who are acting inappropriately. And you're going to get it. It's going to be okay. You're going to figure this out. We're dragging this on. But the idea of you have to hate inside to hurt something. And that's you, and you're not looking at it. You see? You're venting when you harm other people. The person who assassinated John Lennon wasn't just in the mood to kill someone. This is a person who has such low self-worth, he has to try to steal the value of another being. When someone abused you when you were a child, it's disgusting. But on some level, it also tells us what little they thought of themselves. They have to do this they think they have to do this to survive. Now I'm somebody, says the assassin of Lenin, let's say. So, to cause harm, especially overtly, murderously in consciousness, but it's not even just mortally speaking. Trying to hate and hurt people enough. I want to hurt people financially or emotionally. It's coming all from the same place. It's another one of those interesting things that Jesus taught. I know you've said, thou shalt not do this or this or this or this. So Jesus reflects back the commandments. So they're like, yes, that's right. Those are our commandments, the Israelites say. And he says, well, I'm going to add a little something. Even thinking these things, you've already done it. Just because you go, I want to kill them, but I won't, doesn't mean you're cool. You're cool. Consciousness, again, the perception will create projection. So already the stuff inside, it comes out one way or another. Even if you didn't act it out on that person, you'll act it out somewhere in your body as a disease. It's going to manifest somehow, somewhere. So we have to learn to clear our thinking, our consciousness, not just the behaviors. Now, another one is kind of obvious, but judging God's children, including yourself. So God says, I have these children, I've created them, and they're struggling. And you're down here judging them for it. That makes you twice, 3 times, 4 times removed from God. The last thing we need to do is add judgments, because that keeps us further and further and further away. So you could say that's a sin against God, if you want to believe these are sins against. Judging God's children is hurting the feelings of God. But really, it's like I said, it's just us. Deception. To lie, it's kind of like secrets, but deception, purposefully deceiving people, is one of those again. Because God's going, hey, listen, I'm going to land you right here, and I'm going to put you in a room with some of my children. Oh, that's really cool. And then deception, pretending and messing with people's minds and trying to get more out of a deal. And, it's just deception is another part. It's like living in darkness. Another one that's very similar to deception, though, is hypocrisy. It's a very interesting thing. Go read red letter Bible, meaning where Jesus' words are all red lettered, his actual words, right? Take all of those, put them all into a Word document, and then start looking for any time Jesus was like firm. He's like, oh, prostitutes, how are you? Oh, drinkers, hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, Jesus, would you like some wine? Sure. Hanging out with everybody. One group of people he spoke more firmly about, hypocrites. That your words are this way and your actions are another. And we all slip, but I'm talking about overt hypocrisy, which is sort of like the last one as well, deception. So he was very firm about this, and he wasn't hating those who were acting out the hypocrisy. He wasn't hating them, but he did have to make a point, because he's saying, I'm on earth to help people wake up. And one of our big problems is those who pretend they know about awakening are deceiving everyone. They're not just deceiving like the last point, they're also pretending to be there. So when Jesus hears, there's one of the times that a prostitute is brought before him, and they're going to stone this person to death, which is murderous again. Oh, no, but she deserves it. Why? Well, because she was sleeping with people. Wow. That's a bizarre thing to kill somebody over. But he just sits there. Okay. Let's see. He just starts in the sand. And everybody, nobody knows exactly. They say he wrote the sins of the people that would walk up behind him. I have a theory. Let me share this. But he's drawing in the sand, and they walk up, and they see he's writing their own sins, which is true. He did. One of the times he did do that. And they would go into a state of they'd go white. They did. They'd shock, and they would run home. What was he writing? You know what he's writing? This is just my mind. He's writing, you were with her on Tuesday night. You were with her on Thursday night. And they're like, what? Yeah. That's partly true. He was writing their sins, but that included. Come on, dude. Come on. Be honest. Right? And it terrified them because people don't want to, of course, look at their stuff. So hypocrisy would be like a fifth, sort of similar to the last one. Gossip is another one. Now, gossip sounds mild compared to murder, but gossip is verbal murder. You're doing character assassination, which is not really great, obviously. But gossip is also sowing dissension. Making you against them somehow. And if you look at these I've named, and I'll save a seventh and say, you should each make up your own. What's the seventh for you? But when you think about this, whether I'm hating you, trying to murder you in my mind or personally, if I'm, deceiving you, if I'm being a hypocrite, look at these because they're all talking about being off inside, right? Think about that. It's all about, just such hurt. You have to hurt to do these things. You're not a bad person that you do these. You have to hurt to do these things. You start acting badly, but it's coming from a hurt person, right? You don't just go, I'm a child of God and I think I'm in the mood to hate everybody. You don't gossip. You gossip because it helps you think you feel higher. But you have to feel pretty low to want to tear other people down. And then why? What's that about? I think we have an article in our newsletter. I think it's coming up next month about gossip and things like that. How to deal with that, whether you're the recipient of the gossip, the victim of the gossip, the recipient meaning hearing it, or the one doing it. It's just unhealthy. And there's ways to deal with those things. One of them is, you hear something or speak something that's very simple. Are you sure what you're saying is absolutely true? Yes, it is. Because I read the National Enquirer, and it said it in there. And that magazine is my Bible. Okay. Second, is it loving? Really? You're going to try to tell me this is loving? If you can try to squeeze past that, is it necessary? Most of the time, you can't get through those three hurdles. And then you realize, well, thanks a lot. Now I don't have anything to talk about. Because you've been possessed by that demon of, gossip. It's got to go. And it's up to you, because the mother will only mirror that to you, but it's up to you to say, you know what, yeah, this just isn't right. This isn't feeling right. When we have this person, Mary Magdalene, it's said, it doesn't matter if you agree historically, in her own gospel too, it is said that Jesus casts out 7 demons. Now, it doesn't mean literally 7 demons. Okay, door number 1, door number 2, it doesn't mean 7 actual demons, although it can, because people have had demonic possession of one or more beings. The bizarre theatrical things I do, I guess. You ought to see me just sitting in my living room talking to myself. That's wild. No. But anyway, yeah. It's not just 7 demons. Try to go here again for a moment. And are any of these lodged in you? They're kind of like psychological tendencies. So what are these demons that he's casting out of Mary? So, for example, low self-worth. See, he's finding in her, oh, you poor thing, what? And he's helping to remove that. But she has to be willing to do that. If she's like, no, I don't want any of that, he can't do that. Jesus, the Holy Spirit, God the Father, healers, everybody, we can only do as much as we are willing to receive. And that's her greatest gift to us, demonstration to us, is that willingness. Again, back to some of your words, but trusting self. You're not a fallen being that has to keep all these kinds of patterns. What if you're a holy child of God, made in God's image? Why don't you start leaning towards that as your truth, and you'll start seeing that manifesting more. Why hasn't that happened already? You don't have to be upset about this. Why hasn't it happened? Oh, ask yourself. I'm not worthy. It could be low self-worth. It's demons, but they're really patterns in me that keep this from happening. I've had thoughts like this where I think I'm ready just to go, to just burst into light. And then I have had this little thought. If you continue expanding consciousness, this is the thought I've had in my head. If I go further, I don't know if I can relate to the world at all. I'm already pretty fringy. I'm already sometimes out there in my own way, but there's thoughts where I'm going, so I have to go, okay, wait. I don't want to consciously stop myself from the next level or whatever you want to call it. I refuse to do that to myself. But at the same time, I have to own, I don't know how I will relate if I continue. You follow? Yeah. I just own that and I give it to God. I don't say, that's enough. I don't do that. I can't. But I'm tempted. I think I'm good for now. Just leave me kind of hanging out right here. I can't. I have to trust the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, and myself, my soul, and say, I don't know where this is going if I go to another level, but it's got to be good. What is it going to go poorly? God's going to go, I didn't realize you weren't ready. God, the Mother knows every piece of what you got going on, every piece. So, she goes through this, and she's like, okay. She herself, she's got the demons being cast out. One of them's guilt. I asked you in the workshop, for just a minute we talked about this, but what are the words? Do you remember any of them? Guilt, shame. Low self-worth, shame. See, you immediately know that. And this isn't about Mary Magdalene, it's us, but it is somebody who feels that they've been imperfect, naughty, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So she's got the feeling ostracized was one of them. Tune into that one. Some of you have lived that. I don't belong. I don't belong. Your family, your friends at school, or whatever it happens to be. A judgment was another one. But of course, for just about anybody. So she's got the, oh my God, I'm a victim, you feeling ostracized, judgment. The obvious one, of course, attachment too. Having attachments. So these are things, these are characteristics. And you could say there's one like in each chakra. It doesn't matter which chakra is being cleansed and which characteristic or personality type. But she's got these 7 centers being cleared out. And she, again, is going, yeah, let's go. I'm good. Regret's another one. In her, in us. So she might feel regret here. You might feel regret here. She might have very little low self-esteem issues, but some in a chakra down here. You might have a lot in a chakra up here somewhere. It's not apples and apples like that all the way. John's book of Revelation, when he's describing the seals being opened, he's saying 2 things. This is what happened for me, and generally what will happen to you. But it will not be exact. Your earthquakes might come from a different center than his, or you might not. You might have mild tremors versus massive earthquakes that he's describing. But you will never reach Christ's consciousness without your centers being cleared. You don't reach heaven with low stuff consciousness, right? Regrets, hates, hurts, it's got to be seen. And if he says to the apostles at most of the time in their lives, okay, guys, nice to meet you. I'm the Messiah, the Christ, Jesus, nice to meet you. Let me just tell you, all of your stuff, they were not going to handle that well. He had to go kind of a bit at a time. John the Beloved, pretty sweet dude, because he's like, I don't have a lot of stuff. because I love people. Jesus is like, yeah, very cool. You wait till I get you in the book of Revelation. Then you're going to start feeling some stuff. But, for John, he was clear enough to where he didn't have to deal with it on the day-to-day stuff that Peter and Matthew, for example, did. But he experiences it on a mystic level. So whether you have to experience it humanly, which most of us do at some level or another, or the etheric level, which John did when he's writing the book of Revelation, you have to see yourself. It helps if you're in a 12-step program or something like it, doing self-inventory. Get used to looking at yourself. Edgar Cayce called it constantly watch yourself go by, meaning self-inventory. I might assume I'm doing great today. Well, let's see. Whoa. Watch yourself. How did you respond there? Were you a little overly tense? Were you defensive? Were you reactive? Were you angry? Whatever. And then why? You get to have a relationship with yourself. And again, you're asking about listening to self, trusting self. Why the word self is coming up so much. It's very important. So Jesus then tells her, and this is in her gospel, Jesus says, Mary, there are 4 primary obstacles that you have to endure, you have to look at. 4, which happens to be, those of you who are Course in Miracles students, obstacles to peace. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar. So Jesus is telling Mary Magdalene 2,000 years ago, there are 4 primary ego traits that you have to look at. And he goes into these, but he says, but in the 4th one, there are 7 subtopics that we have to address. So I'll share this and we'll start, coming to a close, I think. But he says, okay. And again, tune into yourself with this. 7 sub-traits, things you have to look at for your awakening. Have you already? Are you? Or have you not? Okay, he's telling her this now. How can I look at this and how can I relate to this? And she writes in her book, the first one is darkness, which is coming from the separation. So he's telling her, Mary, the guys aren't listening sometimes. Write this down. The first thing is darkness. It comes from believing you're separate and now you go into a state of darkness. Okay, got it. Then he says, the second one is desire and craving. Because once you think you're separate, you're going to start needing things to help you feel better. And that's addiction and it's whatever else. Distractions, addictions, whatever. Got it, Lord. The third one, Mary, is ignorance. Forgetting who you are, forgetting all that you could know, ignorance. If you haven't noticed, I'm working up the chakras. The first one, the separation, all the way to the root level. Desire, emotion, craving, the emotional chakra. Ignorance, the thinker. And when you have hyper intellect, the more you develop intellect, it's kind of like saying, I have really strong boundaries emotionally. I don't let anyone in ever, and I don't get hurt. That doesn't mean you're emotionally healthy. And it's the same. Hyper-intellectual is not I think I'm close to God because I have a higher IQ than everyone else. The more you develop these human kinds of muscles, mental muscles, emotional muscles, the more it's a defense. Doesn't mean lose boundaries and it doesn't mean lose your intellect. It's how can I use it differently? Matthew, Judas, Peter, whatever their former traits were, look what Jesus did with Peter. He didn't say, Peter, you're a fisherman. Yes, I am. I want you to be a florist. You know what he said? I want you to now be a fisher of men. He took what he does and upped it. And that's all we're talking about. Cool, yeah? Just let's take this up to, change the direction of the expression of it, but when you surrender to God, you don't lose yourself. You're expanded in a good way. You're taken to another level. It doesn't matter what you've done. I don't care if you were a sniper in battle, a single mom, an addict, a non-addict, whatever. Any of those. When you say, here I am, God says, thank you. I have just the right people to bring you to. That, by the way, could only be healed by you. Well, send them to Michael Mirdad. No, Michael can't. They need you. You, each of us, have exactly what God needs to reach certain people. Robin's going to reach them. Rebecca's going to reach them. You're going to reach them. Oh, but I'm not a counselor. I can't. You don't need to be a something else. As you are can be used perfectly. Trust in God to pull that off. And you guys have seen this working through you before, haven't you? Where things that you didn't even know you could do, right?
Yes.
And if that's happened even once, then it means it's a possibility. And if it's a possibility, why don't we start living on that possibility? Just assume that this is doable instead of, well, yeah, maybe they pulled it off, but I don't know if I can do it. So we're moving on up the chakras. The fourth one's a weird one because he told her it's the attraction to death, which means just as I'm rising, like, Kundalini-ish, just as I'm rising, when I get here, there's a part of me that says I'm not worthy and tries to take me back down into separation again, which is a form of death. So attraction to death. The fifth one is kind of going to be obvious because this is the spoken word. The fifth chakra is the Christ center, the spoken word, the I am, as Jesus would say, I am. Are you the Christ? I am. He's got that throat chakra opened up and he's like, yes, I am. Because you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in the upper chakras. This is the Son. This is the Christ center. So strangely and ironically, this chakra's weak spot that he's explaining to her is the identification with yourself as a physical body, a person. Are you the Christ? No, I'm a human. And you fail this one. Isn't that weird? So the fifth one's about, can you own the next level of consciousness? So it's the identification, and some of these are going to overlap a little bit. This is the identification of the body. And it's very easy to fall prey to that. The ego is going to test you. You get up to this level and say, okay, my question to myself, am I the Christ? And body identification. Well, I don't even want to think about that because I still like intimacy. I still like certain foods. I still like to drink. It's all body identification. And then you're going to be judged by yourself here. And you're going to fall, and you're going to end up back in this stuff again. As much as we're trying to rise out of this. And then the next chakra is going to be very similar to that one, but it's not my identification as a body. It's my attachment to the material world. You're now getting up in the God centers. And so, do you really believe this, or do you believe this? And here's one way to know, as the yogis have taught for thousands of years. Do not trust what your senses tell you. Science tells you that's the only thing you can trust. And the mystics are going, do not trust it. Why? Because they're making you identify with this world. I can remember 20 years old being at this gathering, this party or whatever it was. And I remember this one guy just adamantly going, see this ashtray? I can touch it. That's what I believe in. And I'm sitting there going, dude, you have no idea. You just don't have any idea. Think about that. That's your consciousness? Me and this ashtray are one. Seriously? Is that as good as it gets for you? So it's got to be, it's not don't use your senses. Again, I talked about in the conference. You're allowing spirit to come through and turn them to something else. Even your cranial nerves that control these glands and so many other things, the cranial nerves in Revelation are the 24 elders wearing crowns, golden crowns, sitting up on a hill and praising God. That's when I give it up enough, all of my systems, my brain, I won't go into all that, but my brain, the cells, all that starts to change. There are 72,000 meridians, minor and almost, almost invisible ones. They're so tiny. But 72,000. But you've got these. And they're masculine and 72,000 feminine. Not everybody knows that there's even 72,000. But if they do, they don't know that there's a set of masculine, a set of feminine. And when you reach a certain level of enlightenment, each of them is going to distribute those 72,000 cells on each side of the brain, but also the petals of the third eye lotus. And they're totaling 144,000. So the Christians that are waiting to be the one of 144,000 to rise up to heaven, It's me. I become purified enough, this purification process. Yes, the Christians are raptured, and I'm one of them. Any of us is one of them when we allow the purification to happen, and I rise. Oh, and there's another cool one. It's just, sorry. Revelation. Go for it, right? What have I got to lose? What are you going to do? Fire me? I don't know. So check it out and do. And then these guys will hire me to go to England or wherever else to live with them and teach there. So think about this. So in the book of Revelation, I saw a mother giving birth. She was pregnant with child, and it comes time to give birth. And as the child is coming forward, this creature comes to try to swoop in and devour them. That's, man, what's going on with John, man? I told you, he reincarnates as Stephen King, man. Not really, but geez, like this is like, wow, creepy dude. And then as the serpent comes in to take them and devour them, this eagle swoops in. The eagle, the symbol also for Scorpio. The eagle swoops in, picks up the child and the mother, and takes them off to safety. Okay? What does that mean? When you, the mother, Holy Spirit in you, tries to birth the Christ child, the ego is going to try to destroy you. The ego tries to destroy you. The ego tries to destroy you. The eagle swoops in to save. What's the eagle? Right here. This thing will swoop down and save you. The birthing of the Christ, it'll take you and lift you up to safety. You see? Which is also that thing they say, you will be marked in the forehead when you're chosen by God. Why the forehead again? Because it's very clear. You're either here or you're not. And I wouldn't condemn myself if I'm like, well, it's great to hear this now, at the end of the time, and the end of the world. And I'm like, well, great. I got 3 minutes to become enlightened. Yeah, you can sit in regret, which is one of those demons. Or you can say, wow, got it. Here I am. The more you surrender to the Holy Spirit, the more she can do. If you say, well, I'd like to have surrendered earlier, she's like, okay. Sucks to be you, she would say. You want to keep yourself in that thought frame, okay. Otherwise, just go, no, here I am. I'm scared, I'm kind of ashamed, I got lots of weird history. Just stop thinking. Just let her lift you. The more I surrender to her, the less anchors I'm wearing while she's trying to lift me. That's the, pain-free type of existence. I mean, it's my destiny. So this is all interesting. You're going up and up and up through these. And the last I'll mention on these is there's a point where a tendency, which takes us back to the beginning, separation. The seventh one is a tendency towards projecting our stuff onto other people. See, when we separated from God, one of the first things we did was starting to, who do I blame for this? So projection is a really core issue. You cannot reach your highest self while still tending towards projection, which is just an outburst of anger of sorts, but it's anger at yourself. I'm mad, I don't know how to deal with this, it must be your fault. It's a psychological game that we have to get past. We have to get over this. So this is interesting now. One last thing I'll say on this. And just imagine this. Soak this in for a moment. With all these 7 things, Mary then describes, and then here's what happened, she says. After being these characteristics, demons released from me, then I'm told about these things that the ego does to control us and gain power. She wakes up. Because after he casts this out, he starts downloading to her awareness. How cool is that? And here's roughly what she says. I got it. And she's going to go through those same chakras. What has bound me has been slain. Desire It's reached its end. Ignorance, it's past. I'm free of ignorance, she said. She's moving up the chakras. Then she says, what has once encompassed me has been vanquished. She's moving up the chakras. It's like, oh, I can feel it as I do it. Oh, she reaches the fifth and she says, I'm liberated from the chains of forgetfulness. Like she's describing, oh my God, I'm getting, this is like I'm getting it. All the amnesia that existed through time, she's saying, I'm in timelessness now. And I've found stillness. You see that? It's like, wow. Stillness is also mentioned in the 7 chakras in the book of Revelation. Then she says, I've left one world behind and I feel born again. Oh my God, like, whoa. From this moment on, I go forward into a new life. Everything renewed. I can never be the same. I feel like I'm one with eternity. All this stuff that was there, fear, anxiety, low self-worth, there's no room for them now. I'm filled with something totally different. There's no room. And if a demon of ignorance comes in, she's like, sorry, there's no room. We're full. And you have to get used to that idea. Typically, one addiction or characteristic you try to give up, another one comes in. We have to learn to be so filled with spirit, which you cannot reach if you don't think you deserve it. And you can't get over thinking you deserve it if you want to carry still the original sin of separation. I separated, I did something wrong, my fault. And then even worse, it's blame it on someone else. And if I don't go home, it's because somebody else is keeping me from feeling that kind of blissful life. Stop. There are no others. Please forgive me. I love you. Sorry about that. Thank you. And go back here. And when you find yourself, you too, oh my God, like a child, inside, hey, listen, I'm sorry. I left you behind a long time ago. As soon as I realized you are in a situation, a family that's not healthy, I didn't know how to protect you, I being my soul. I didn't know how to protect you, so I hid and just left you going through this weird stuff. I didn't know what else to do. But I do know now. So take my hand. Well, no, I'm scared. I don't know what to trust. I know, honey. You're the only voice. You're the only voice that child can hear. It can't hear a healer's voice. It could only perceive it a bit, but you're the one, the only voice that can actually reach all the way to that wounded self and say, I'm sorry. Take my hand. Yeah, but I know. Take my hand. I promise you, this time I'm here. How do we know? Well, because mommy's got a friend called God, not Uncle Sid. Mom, you always say there's a new guy. No, not that. It's God. I'm sorry, but it's not people that are good one day and bad another. Turns out to be an addict. And none of the dramas that we've had in life. And some of you I know haven't had that intensive a history, but still, we've all had these weird lifetimes of being separate. And I'm going to learn from the challenging ones, and I'm going to integrate the positive ones. And that's still not as good as it gets. That's just the great way to do it while on earth. The next is, and I'm going to surrender to my soul. And I'm going to let my soul surrender to God. Human self surrenders to soul, soul surrenders to God. Make sense? So then Jesus says, wow, Mary. And by the way, Mary, you might not want to tell the guys yet. And she's like, whatever you tell me to do, I got it. So just, shh. They're going to come at you later anyway, Why do you seem so peaceful? What is it, the master, what's up with you and him? Well, he tells me things that, give us an example. What's she going to say? And she's like this, no secrets. So she's like, okay. Well, he said that there's a 7 characteristics of the ego, and then there's 7 subsets, and in the 7 subsets, you got this and this and this and this and this, And they're like, what? Yeah, and then after he cleared these things, by the way, and he taught me these things, I just was free. And a lot of you described this at the conference yesterday, and when you come here on Sundays, something's changing. There's like this spiritual freedom. But it isn't a guy and a thing and a weirdness that we have. We're doing this together. So we just feel this beautiful kind of boom, boom, boom in consciousness, expansiveness. And then she says, and then one more thing. I noticed he didn't just remove, he blessed me with these other characteristics. All of a sudden, I just feel like she had the power to heal. In the stories of Magdalene going to the south of France, she was now bringing people back to life that died. I mean, I don't know about you, but how many times does that, and I don't mean Claire, I'm talking about people that were dead, not for a few seconds. I'm talking about people that were dead. Power to heal. And if you don't feel like, well, I'm pretty good working with anxiety disorders, but not other. There is no but others. You're just not there yet. It's in all of us. All of us. If I were you, and for myself, I would ask myself if there's a category that I'm not yet doing, don't judge yourself for it. Don't worry about it. Don't long. Just, it's going to happen. And I don't care if it happens today. I'm leaving it to the mother. But I'm open. But power to heal. Her clairvoyance, her third eye was opened. How could that not be happening, right? So clairvoyance, the power to heal, courage. She shows up at the cross, and she's a former prostitute, according to some. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care. She's a woman. Women weren't looked at very highly. For a woman to show up, and they're voting. They're voting. Who should I release, Jesus or Barabbas? And all these psychopaths are voting for Barabbas. They hate spirit, God, Christ. And they wanted the murderer to be released. What a weird vote. And I'm not talking about the election right now. But it sounds similar, doesn't it? Wow. All the lying to get the vote to go your way, and what everybody's nuts. So Barabbas and Jesus, and she's one of the only ones. She's like, Jesus. And she's being punched and kicked. She doesn't care. Do you understand? She doesn't care. They could have pulled out a sword. She'd have said, take me. I'm good now. If you knew what I know, you'd slit your own wrist or throat. Because I'm totally good. That courage, understand this, that courage gave her a power that made her immune to all these other things. John, Mother Mary, Magdalene, very few people, they went to the cross because they had no thing in them to be attacked. Their courage made them safe from attack. Your courage helps fend off things. I know you think you're courageous sometimes and still get attacked, and that can happen. But generally speaking, when people sense that you're so present, they think of, I got to go find another weaker animal in the herd because you're just so there. You know, it's amazing that courage can be a protective thing. It's not just a way to defend things, it's a presence. Unconditional love has to be one of them. She's not now downloaded with preferential attractions and love. How could she not have been blessed with unconditional love? If I told you Christ was going to bless you with 7 states of consciousness, wouldn't that be one of them that's obvious? Unconditional love. One you might not have expected, patience. Yeah. Patience. And inner peace is another one. I think I did 7. Inner peace. So whatever your demons, whatever your psychological profile, whatever your history, these things not just can be, if only, they are inevitably going to be cleared. The thing we get to choose is when. But they're gonna get cleared at some point. And when they do, there's not only the it going out, there's the presence of what happens after, just the natural presence. And then from those states of presence come these new gifts. new gifts of, healing and things, 3D things, many of them. But how to handle the earth plane. Before she gets that, she's already got these 7 states inside. Like, inner, just this tranquility. I feel like I'm one in eternity. It's amazing. But she still was given gifts in the world. Go and heal, right? Yeah, clairvoyance, what to see. I mean, when you go into spirit, you're way beyond what would be called clairvoyance. But she's got these natural gifts, right? Is that cool? So I think I covered most of the questions, but just the last one or two. The concepts of, I think, listening to self and doing all this, finding your tribe and bringing daughters of heaven into the world. I don't want to speak a lot about the conference per se, because if you weren't there, then it sounds like I'm talking about something unrelated to you. And I don't want to do that. Keeping it right here. Whether you're at a Sunday service, a Daughters of Heaven conference, you go to a healer and they do these miraculous things on you, whatever the case, when you have major changes, there's one almost inevitable thing that's going to happen that's a downer. And that is trying to go back into the world with this high that you're on. And that sounds like it's a good thing. I'm in this high. Oh, cool. Good for you. No. It is good for you, but it's challenging because you're on this high and then the 3D world. I mean, one of the most consistent examples I've ever given. My first time going sacred sites trips that I took people, we went to Medjugorje and saw Mother Mary there and appearing to people and Egypt and all these other things. But when I came back, I mean, I was just, I think I was 28 at the time, but I mean, I was just like, what? Like Magdalene, just in this state of like, I just feel tranquil, and it was wonderful. And, somebody close to me said, would you knock that off? Who do you think you are, acting all like spiritual? And the human me, it broke my heart to hear that. Because now I'm like, shamed. So as a person, it hurt and you feel conflicted. I'm like on this high and then something to bring you down. You must not forego what you've achieved in lieu of this other disturbing human stuff. Instead, don't expect it like manifest it, but expect it, don't be surprised. You're going to be on a high, take it with you. You are the high. It's not something you smoked that'll disperse from your system in an hour. This is you permanently. And I can say that because right now, as I stand here, all I have to do is go back to being the 28-year-old Great Pyramid Mother Mary and breathe it in again. And it's here with me. It didn't get shamed to death. It's right here. If I let it get shamed to death, I let it. Well, that person wasn't very nice. True, but they have issues. Why am I letting that take me out of my bliss? You've got to take responsibility there. And so take this service with you, take any talk online with you. Let it change you, but the change isn't about Michael and it isn't about the video online. This is about you and God. How much of God do you want to integrate today? So it could be a tenth of what I said. It could be one word. It could be how you feel, but it still has to go back to you, which is why I say at the end of these things, what did you learn? It's one way of getting you to own you got something and it's yours. If anybody ever says, oh, well, here's what I got from this. Michael, you're this and this and this. Even when people send in testimonials, a paragraph testimonial for a workshop I've done, I've always gone and edited my name out of those things. Almost always. Michael was this and that. I don't care. I want you to tell people what you got from that workshop. You see? It's kind of cool, huh? I mean, get it back to them and get them to own that and integrate it. Besides, the people reading, they don't need to keep Michael this, Michael that. It's not important. It's what you got from this. And when you go out to the world, don't forget, people are watching you. You may not realize it. It's unconscious level. People are watching you. They might be looking at the birds in the park, and you're walking through the park. On an unconscious level, they're watching you. And when you tripped and fell and laughed at yourself, it meant something to them. When you tripped and fell and cussed and said, I'm suing the park, I hate humans, concrete bricklayers who didn't do it right. How dare they? And they did it on purpose to get me to trip and hurt me like everybody else in my history. They're watching you. And they're going, wow. And what's worse is when they see you do it, it validates their own stuff. When you say not today, it plants a seed. Really? How did that person handle that so well? You're planting seeds. That's as spiritual as your work could possibly be on the third dimension. To be an example. And finding your tribe. What does that mean? It doesn't mean an exclusive group. And it does look like it's a place like this. And online when people are watching, it does look like that. But it doesn't stay like that. Finding your tribe could be one person in the airport that you resonate with. I know a lot of people are into the, where's my, and they single out something. Where's my twin soul and where's my soulmate? And you do what you want. It's fine. But my brain doesn't work that way. It is inevitable. Every human being throughout time, you're going to realize is your soulmate. Every one of us is already one. It's not going to go from you being alone to you being alone with someone else who's just like you or that is somehow a complementary version of you. Thank God I found you because I don't like them. You're going to fall in love with every being that's ever existed at some point because we're all one. It'll look romantic on earth for a while, and then it starts to become just kind of, wow, like, I don't know what to do. I love everyone. Doesn't mean you move in with them all. It just means I just feel this love. And you can still single out someone to hang out with. I mean, if I say, the two of you, I really love these beings, and then one of them's like, hey, you want to get something to eat? Sure. The one that said Domino's gets a yes. The one that says the vegan bar thing, whatever they go, the vegans, it's the tasteless menu. It's a no. It's a no. It's just joking, right? But it's a no. And it's not good or bad. It's not good or bad. It's just, you're allowed to hang out with, somebody else says, hey, you want to go, let's on a drive and we'll play some music. As soon as you even get your finger near the country western section of the radio, I'm jumping. I don't care if we're on the freeway going 75. I'm jumping. Oh, country western, I thought you were my soulmate. Boom, gone. Gone. No. But, you're allowed to have your preferences, but everybody is destined to love. Remembrance. Take a few centering breaths. Just a few decompressing breaths. Breathe in like feelings of gratitude, lighten up. Breathe in some gratitude and breathe out stuff. Heavy stuff, thinking stuff, defensive stuff. If all of our defenses are dropped, even if you want to just think make believe, and we drop the defenses, that in one split moment, at least for now, means the demons are cast out. The patterns are gone. I'm just completely trusting you, Holy Spirit of God, Christ, God, Spirit of love. In a state of trust. Right here and now. It doesn't matter if you're watching this video years from now, and it doesn't matter if you were at the conference. Here and now, all gone, total trust. And then join with me in this imagination, which is a highest faculty in man. Let's imagine surrendering so much that the Spirit of the Divine Mother is going to come through as sound music tones. We're surrendering the musicians to be facilitators of the mother for a moment. And let's let come through. Watch your mind for certain thoughts that come to you and just note them, because it's a message from the mother. It could be a word, a thought, it could be a feeling, a color. Just go. Let your mind unwind. Let your body unwind and let more of this in. A hand or two on your heart. Let the sound come in. And from your heart, let your hands express outwardly, slowly, naturally. Does the mother come through you as healing hands that you send out to others? Does it become hand mudras? Does it become dance, movement, shoulders, hips, torso, neck? Does it become yoga asanas? Spend the next minute going. Just trust and allow. Mother, sometimes we're afraid, even of you. I'm giving you my fears, my resistance. You may flow through me as you will. heart, your hands back to your heart with a statement of gratitude. Let this be real, please. It doesn't matter if you were feeling it as much as the person down the aisle. Own their feeling, own their movement, their trust. Own the bliss that they feel. Own the trust that Magdalene had. Own the consciousness of Jesus, and that's Christ consciousness. It doesn't matter if I allow it as much as others. I'm allowing it now just in my intention. And I give thanks. Oh my God, I'll never forget those sounds, those tones. It's like she was just singing and praying through me. Those sounds were actually unwinding psychological resistance, physical, muscular stuff. She's just gently unwinding. I don't need hammer and chisel anymore. Just the sweet sounds of love. How beautiful. All of my systems blessed with the Spirit of God. My digestive system can be stronger now. It's okay. I'm in the world, not of it. My nervous system can become more centered. Heightened indeed, yes. My meridians, chakras, everything open, but yet stable. And finding homeostasis, finding equilibrium. I feel so good. And close. Yes, and so it is. And then just a hand on a person next to you on each side, just of thank you to each other. Thank you. Yes. How's that feel? Thank you. Thank you so much. Gradually bring yourself back to the room. Amazing, yeah? Oh, extraordinary, man. Love it. We're going to take up our collection. They're going to pass the bags and baskets. It's very simple, and it's posted online for you to make donations there. And thank you, the person that requested that we have a scanning ability to do donations. We'll have that set up in the near future. Yes. So the bags are where you put your love offering. Please, please be as generous as you can be. Okay? Your love offering's in the bag. The baskets are for more, like extra donations, like people of lesser means or special projects. Do not feel in any way funky ever if you don't have it to put in the basket. Just put your love, man. Just send your love and support, and that's enough. So the prayers are on the papers in front of you. If you're sitting second row or anything else, they're in front of you, the seat backs. There's a paper that tells you the prosperity prayer, and it's posted online as well. Okay? Full intention into your donation. Join me, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. While they're passing those around, it'll only take a minute or two. Can anyone share, what did you learn or hear today that made the most sense? What did you like or learn or need to learn or whatever? Yes.
Over 3 months ago, I received what took place today in a dream.
Ah.
And it had to do with Pentecost and Mary Magdalene.
Nice. So you had a dream a few years ago,
3
lot,
months ago.
oh, months ago, that covered a lot of the same things. Downloading. Fantastic. Yes.
A reminder that as we go through our day, everybody is looking for us and
Oh,
observing to see if we're
yes.
actually walking our talk.
Yes. Yes, people are always watching. You know, it's not unlike children watching parents. It might seem like they're doing something else, even when they're watching a show, they're observing how the parents handle things and interact, affection, resentment, and so on. Who else wanted to share? Yes?
So I've always believed in knowing that I have that spiritual, awareness, knowing that when people come to me, they're looking, like what she said, looking for that Christ consciousness.
Yeah.
And what she said, it just affirmed everything.
Nice.
And I just feel powerful.
Beautiful.
I got this.
You got it.
Yes.
And that the application, the ability to integrate that Christ center. Yes, good job. Yes.
Oh, it's you integrating the chakra system with Mary taught,
Referencing the chakra system for these kinds of topics. Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Surrender to God and allow God to live through you. That's it.
Surrender to God and allow God to live through and play through and sing through and yoga through and parent through, right? Nice. Yes.
When we surrender to God and works through us, as he said, we are in our most vulnerable state as Christ on the cross. In that moment, we are all invulnerable.
Yeah. And try to imagine that. Part of what he said there was the most vulnerable part could be likened to being on the cross. But being on the cross is likened to any time you feel persecuted, put down, whatever it happens to be, abused and ignored or whatever. That's a personal crucifixion. But that's the most vulnerable when the ego could infiltrate because it's trying to hurt you, but it's also your most, immune state because of what you're choosing to be in that moment. Immune to the stuff of the world. Yes.
When you were talking about the eagle swooping down.
Oh, the eagle swooping down,
and
saving them.
My third eye just started vibrating.
Nice.
Still feel
When I started describing the eagle swooping down to save the mother and the Christ child, and your third eye started pulsating. Nice. Anyone else? Yes.
I got,
I am aware of the self. Yes. Yes. I am aware of this. You have to own that which you are not before you can really own that which you are. Because it's in the way. Right? Did you have your hand up? Somebody over there? No. Okay, good. Everybody good? All right, God bless you. Thank you. Go ahead. Yes?
The power of our voice, how you said that most of our healing, what our body is going to re-recognize is your voice. That, we can hear others,
Yes.
but ultimately it's our voice who's going to
Yes.
through
Yes.
that hard job.
God is going to work through you as you've been. To start where you are. It doesn't wait, like God doesn't say, well, as soon as you're perfect enough, we might talk. God's saying, no, let me help you go to that place. Let me help you work through the imperfections, shames, jealousies, all that stuff. Let me help you work. It'll be far more efficient if you let me help you do that. And then all of a sudden, all your gifts go to a whole new level. Please stand for our closing prayer. Yeah? Thank you. Our guest musicians, Rebecca and Robin, have CDs in the lobby. So please pick up what you can of theirs and or go to their website and you can download some things. The bookstore carries some of Robin Miller's CDs as well. But let's thank them one last time. Doesn't it feel amazing? Just, spiritual high. But take it with you to your bookkeeping, your grocery shopping, cooking, whatever you cook. Don't judge what kind of diet you're on. Just put love into it no matter what. Love to your children, whether they stayed straight and narrow or whether they strayed. Doesn't matter. Everything's coming back to God at some point. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Such love. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all.